Good morning, FreeCAD fans. I'd like to give you a quick tutorial or demo somewhere in between on using the Sketcher Workbench. And I'm going to try to give you from, I'm relatively new to FreeCAD, so I'm hoping that perspective helps you out. So that I'm going to hopefully talk about more things that would frustrated me when I first started with FreeCAD. FreeCAD is known to have a large learning curve, but there are certain key points that just get you right past that learning curve. So if we can kind of coalesce what they are, we'd be much better. So when you start with FreeCAD, you're going to get to this, the FreeCAD Start Center. What you want to focus on is create a new document is your combo view. That's where you control everything, and you have to have a document selected, so you can see your documents are listed here. I'm going to close that start page. You can have multiple documents open. So right now I'm working in this one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to part design. I always start in part design because I use Sketcher a lot so far, so I always need a body, and you see I can create it up there. I could have also created it down here. Your taskbars tell you what's available for you to do. So the first things I always do when I know I'm doing a sketch-based drawing is body and sketch, and that's exactly what it tells you to do. So it walks you through. I always do on the XY plane because I haven't needed to otherwise. So now I've got a body and I've got a sketch, and that lets you get started. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to just show you each drawing tool. This is a basic line tool. You can draw just random lines, or you can draw, if you draw a vertical line, it adds a vertical constraint. And I'm not going to teach constraints in this, but I will tell you what they are. This is a vertical constraint, and it will make sure that your line is always vertical. And then you can do a horizontal constraint, and the way you enact these is just by drawing a horizontal or near horizontal line. You see how it clicks in and out? That's your horizontal constraint. So that's now a horizontally constrained line. Even if I grab the end, it won't let me move it. But you'll notice on this unconstrained line, it lets me move it. So that's your line tool. Now the other thing about the line tool is, as you're drawing it, and this will always be true, the various constraints that are available will pop up as you hover over. So that's a tangent constraint. I fix a point onto the object. I call it tangent because that's what it looks like. So that'll lock it to this. This is a coincident constraint, that dot. That means these will be locked, constrained by this corner. So this one, vertically and horizontally constrained lines that are connected at the corner. You can move them just by clicking or left clicking or right clicking, which depends on your navigation style. Oh, and that's something I need to point out real quick. Let me close this sketch and show you. If you right click, you can on your empty screen there, you can pick a navigation style. Make sure you know what each of these do. It can be very frustrating. I think it starts with Open Inventor. I'm not sure what it defaults to, and I used Blender before this. It was very confusing to me. I was misclicking constantly, so I moved to the same as Blender navigation style, and that makes it much easier to me. It just, for me, it feels more intuitive. So depending on your navigation style, that's going to determine whether you left click or right click, and how you rotate, how you zoom, how you pan. So make sure you spend a little time understanding that before you do anything else. That was a frustration point for me. So I have some lines. Now I'm going to show you how you can do an arc. I'm only going to show you center and end points because my end and rims is not working. So you pick a center, you do a radius, and then you say how much of an arc you want. Couldn't be simpler. For a circle, I'm going to show you center and rim. So you pick a center, and you'll notice I'm getting a coincident constraint there, and how big I want it, and you're done. So now so the first thing you might ask yourself, well, I want to set a radius. I don't want to cover that here, but I'll show you. You draw everything first, and then you set the length, and that's something to remember. That's something I was very frustrated. So I have a circle. When I want to set the length, now I pick the constraint, and I picked the wrong thing. Yeah, no, I don't know what I did there, but so now that's the radius constraint. Now I tell it what I want my radius to be, and let's just say I want it to be 2 millimeters, and that'll change there. And in some of my other videos, I show you how you can link that to a spreadsheet to make it parameterized. So this is how you set your distances in FreeCAD. You don't do it by, you do them roughly by dragging, but the majority of the work is done by, so I've got that center constraint to one of those. The majority of the work is done with constraints, the exacting stuff. Okay, so now an ellipsis, much the same as a circle, but what the ellipsis does is it uses construction geometry. This is a very useful piece. These don't aren't really, they're virtual pieces of your of whatever you're drawing, but they allow you to do more complex shapes and give them exact measurements. So now I can apply distance measurements to these construction things, and they affect my final shape. So if I want my ellipse to be more elongated, I can just increase that construction geometry. I could also do it, you know, by the ellipse itself, but that construction geometry allows you to make shapes more easily. And as you get more advanced in FreeCAD, you'll find how great that is. A good tool if you're creating more unusual shapes is the Polyline Tool. And you see that just lets you create any kind of shape you want there. And later on, like, you might extrude something like that to be, like, say I wanted to create just a motor bracket. I'd start with something like this, maybe. Or just some kind of bracket. Just a little bit easier than doing all sorts of lines. Now, and then all the constraints can be applied to that as well. You have a box tool, and then you have your various polygons, which I won't, you know, I'll do a triangle for you. Okay, and you notice the construction geometry there because they're all polygons are all circles. And this is one I like to use for speaker grills. It's it's called a slot. And then these are tools to modify existing geometry. So this creates a fillet, and this can be very useful. Sometimes these fillets are easier to make before you do extrusions as opposed to the solid geometry fillet tool. This one I found creates less trouble later on. And then this tool is a line cutting tool, so it'll trim. It won't just trim any old line anywhere, but it'll trim. Let's see if I have one that'll work on. Nope. So let's do this. I think this will work. It'll trim to make a whole parts. So now I can just trim this out, and you'll see it just cuts that out. So that's sort of like a cut tool. So those are your basic line tools. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them in the comments. Or if you want me to demo one particular one, I will do that for you as well. Let me know. Make sure you click a thumbs up if you like this. Subscribe if you want to see more. Next video I'm going to do is on these constraints, and hopefully I can make it a little easier to understand and a little easier to get started. Also click the alarm bell if you want to get notified for these videos. Thank you so much. Have a great day.